Join me today for a BattleTech short story review. This will be Giving Up the Ghost by Bryan Young, which is collected in Fortunes of War Volume 1 and is also available separately digitally. This is the Geek Cabal channel. If you've not been here before, my name is Bobbie, and today we're doing a short story review. As I mentioned, it's Giving Up the Ghost by Bryan Young. And I read the print version, which is available here in Fortunes of War Volume 1, which has 2 short stories. And the other is Blood Rage by Craig A. Reed Jr., which I haven't finished yet, so I'll be doing that in a separate video. I've done reviews for a few other of Mr. Young's works. I generally like him as an author. And I shouldn't say generally, I like him as an author. My only... I wouldn't even call this a complaint, because it's not a complaint. It's just something I noticed, is the use of current day phrases and euphemisms and references to current things, which it's the future of now, so those things could easily carry forward into the future. It's just one of those things that, you know, occasionally jumps out at you. Again, it's not a complaint, it's just an observation. And maybe the line will see more of that and it'll become regularized. Who knows? But I've reviewed another short story. And this one's like 10 pages. It's available online, featuring the Ghost Dogs, who are going to be featured in this one. And this was after their formation, whereas this story is more about their formation. So at the time, I had not read this story, so I just kind of jumped into the other one. Now, I'd say there's a fair chance that this story, that short story, and if there's some others floating around or new ones, might be collected in a full-length volume at some point. His Fox Patrol characters, which are another group of characters he's written about, recently had a release of a few of their stories kind of cobbled together into one single book. And the same thing happened with the Grey Death Legion. Not for Bryan Young. I think that was offhand. I think that was Jason Schmetzer, but I could be misremembering who that was. So, even though this is a single book, I'm going to review the 2 stories separately because they're substantial enough to do that. Unlike the shrapnel issues, where the stories generally aren't long enough that I'd really have a lot to talk about, and so I just kind of I only reviewed the shrapnel #1 so far, and just kind of highlighted some of the stories in it. So, but we'll see going forward. I don't know what happens in the next 24 issues of Shrapnel that I haven't read yet. For all I know, some of the stories are long enough and warranted. Now this book, this is the whole book here, is, as far as the stories go, is 150 pages. And there's like 1 or 2 little insert pages, but basically it's 150 pages. I thought the stories were split roughly equally 75-75, but they're not. The story we're going to be talking about is only 63 of the pages. So, anyway, also just a little note on some programming stuff going forward. For those of you who've actually looked at like the playlists we have on the channel, I have a lot of playlists. And it's because I like to be able to link to a specific set of things, even if like they fall within another subset. So like BattleTech has a lot of videos, but I like to be able to link to like the first Succession Wars stuff, or I think I just have it as the Succession Wars, or the Star League era, or the Clan Invasion era. But also, there's a handful of factions I have defined in there, and there's going to be more of those. Because they'll start to cover more material, it's going to subdivide more. And it allows me to be like, okay, like this is about the Ghost Dogs. So if I give them one, then there'll be at least 2 videos for that, possibly more going forward, depending on how much material gets made. Or, you know, each of the houses, or what have you. So there's going to be more based on the factions as I kind of break things down, so I can link to it. Well, if all your stuff you worry about Jade Falcon stuff, it's over here. You know, House Merrick, as little as it's going to be, is over here. You know, just things like that. So it's so I can link to more defined information, even though it's also going to be linked to, it's also going to be in the BattleTech playlist, because it is in the larger BattleTech playlist. And I do the same thing with the movies. I've got them broken down by which decade they came out in. Also, if it's like sci-fi and horror, because I cover so many of those, I have those also by decade, because those are my two favorite genres. So that's what I talk about a lot. So anyway, programming note aside, what do we have here? Okay, so as I mentioned, this is by Bryan Young. And as I said, I've done several of his stories at this point. And also, I should note, I'm probably going to start listing things, playlists by author as well, so I can point to those. So, this is about the ghost dogs, who are, at the start of the story, are part of the Kellhounds. And they hit a moment, and this takes place in 3146, by the way, so it's still the Dark Age era. This is pre-Assault on Terra, pre-Ill Clan. So at this moment in time, the Kellhounds are facing particularly vicious attacks from the Jade Falcons, who are intentionally targeting them. Partially because Malvina Hazen is insane, but also she is thoroughly ruthless. Insane, but like in a way that doesn't really diminish her tactical capabilities. Like, she is a not compelling, she's a competent commander when it comes to knowing what forces to use and things like this. But she also believes in the whole mongrel doctrine of using wildly excessive force, punishing populations, killing people that don't submit, things like that. So very destructive, but also very good at what she does. She was a real threat. It's a good thing she's dead. And I'm saying that as a Jade Falcon fan. So, our main character, well, top character, is Hank Mallory, who at the start of this is a major, and I believe by the end has upgraded himself to a colonel. And it starts with them on a mission protecting some domed cities against the Jade Falcons. And on Narcissa, Narcisse. Sorry, I actually studied Greek mythology. I should probably know how to pronounce that name. But yeah, so he's the main character, and he's one of these, 2 weeks from retirement, I'm getting too old for this shit kind of guys, and gets this bomb dropped in his lap from the Kellhound High Command of time to go to ground, quit acting like your Kellhounds, disappear, we'll get back with you at some point if we ever reform the organization. And so they have to come up with a new name, they have to re-transponder the ship and everything. They've got to do all the things that you have to do to pretend to be someone else now, but also erase your past. And that's what the bulk of the story covers, is, things like, uniforms, paint for the battle mechs, a new insignia, new name, new contracts, and his XO also gets upgraded, and she's a logistical whiz, and he's, very thankful for that. And he's got to kind of, has the moment where he has to tell the rest of the group, hey, this is what's going to happen, and has to give them the choice of leave or stay. And so the bulk of the story, it's about that. So the latter half is all about the subterfuge that they have to go through to acquire these new things, coming up with a plan on the fly, a new name, and all of that. And by the end, they've been christened the Ghost Dogs and have their new paint scheme, which is gray and pink primarily, which the XO kind of tries to brush off as, well, we're the Ghost Dogs. We're now the ghost of the Kellhounds, so gray and pink from black and red. It's kind of the ghostly versions of the colors. I think it was a lot of ex post facto justification. Overall, good story, good background. I would like to see more of this group. And like I said, I have read the short story. Most of the action is at the beginning, as far as the battle mech action. Towards the end, there is the sneaking around and having to steal the paint. So, some action there. But it's also like a 63-page story. There's not going to be a lot of action in this. But overall, I think it is definitely worth a read, and I'll have to let you know on the second story. But for sure, the first story is, and I suspect the second story will be as well. I've not read into a lot of bad BattleTech. Well, I've not read into any bad BattleTech fiction. But I mean, occasionally there is, quality dips. But most of that was honestly back during the Dark Age era. A few of the WizKids books were definitely better than the others. But I've read a couple of the other stories by Craig A. Reed Jr., and I've read a few of his stories, and I like them as well. There's the Elements of Treason. I read the first two. Thought those were both pretty good. So I know he's a competent writer. Good writer. So anyway, definitely worth checking out. You can take a shot in the dark and just buy the book if you want to. It's a little bit cheaper than the others because it's shorter. Like I said, it's a thin one. A lot of the others top out around 250, 300 pages for the full-length books, and we've had a few recently that go to 400 and 500 pages. But now this is a pretty good read, pretty short. Overall, like I said, definitely worth checking out, and keep an eye out for when I get around to the second story. After these two will probably be the latest Lau book, Blood Will Tell, because I've already kind of started reading it as well. So keep an eye out for that as well. And I've still got a few unboxings left, but that's the plan for the moment for BattleTech stuff. Now, this is nearing the end of the month. This is almost the end of June. So here in the next few days, presumably, will be the July short story. I'll try to get on that as quickly as I can, so I can let you fine folks know about it. You should download it no matter what, because I mean, it's going to cost you a little bit of space on your hard drive, and 2 minutes to download if that. So if you don't like it, you can always delete it. But once they're gone, unless they show back up in these print versions, they're gone. So anyway, you should check this story out. I do think it's pretty good. Yeah, that's about all I've got for this one. So let me know down in the comments if you folks read this before, read any of Bryan Young's other works. What do you think of this or his other works? Do you plan on reading this one? Have you read the second story? And is there anything I should know before I jump into it? Anything at all like that? Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Sharing and commenting will help us grow the channel. We always appreciate it. And subscribing, obviously, is the name of the game here on YouTube. And based on the numbers I can see on the back end, it does seem like BattleTech videos are the driving force of the subscriber base. So, I am trying to come up with more content. I'm going to try to invest some more time into reading up on some of the little corners of the lore that I can cover in small chunks. And again, like I mentioned the other day, that's not a complaint about the people that can talk for 5 hours about the Warhammer battle mech. Like, I'm impressed by that. My depth of knowledge of BattleTech is not that deep compared to that. It's greater than the layman, but not to that level of depth. And I applaud those videos, but I'm nowhere near being ready for anything like that. So I'm trying to focus on things that I can talk about in 10, maybe 20 minutes. Just little bits and pieces here and there, things I find interesting. And part of the problem is trying to not literally just read a Sarna article to you, because you could do that, but also trying to figure out, like, do I have all the pieces of the puzzle? Because I don't want to report on something that's like, well, there was this one short story in this German magazine back in 1996 that you had to be at the Berlin train station to get, and like has some critical piece of lore in it that I don't know nothing about. I don't want to look like a fool for not including that. So yeah, plus my sleep schedule is seriously off lately, so reading and retaining things has been a little bit of a hassle. Sleep apnea and some other sleep issues, so it affects me. But anyway, that's all I've got for today. So, see you folks later, and remember, of course, since this is BattleTech, no guts, no galaxy.